Hello and welcome to this short screencast tutorial of the new UNICEF WASH funding database. Before starting, it's better to, if you have a fast enough connection, choose this HD for high definition option in YouTube, and it'll be bigger on your screen, be easier to read. It should still be possible to follow this if you can't get high definition. We'll start looking at the system within the new version of Microsoft Excel, but it works just as well in the older versions of Microsoft Excel. The database is simply an Excel file, and to open it, you open it like you'd open any other file, like I'm doing from the database, from the hard drive here, or you can do it directly from your email program. And it comes up, but this isn't quite right because macros have been disabled. You see, I've received a security warning saying that. It's possible you won't receive this if you've already set up your system to automatically enable macros. But if you haven't, you'll get this error, this message. It's not an error message. What you need to do is choose options here and then click on enable this content, press OK, and macros are now running, and you'll be taken to the first page of the table of contents. I'll quickly go through this. It'll take a little more time of playing around within it on your own, but this will highlight some of the major functions. So starting with the first sheet, the country sheet, this is a summary of the funding information in the left-hand side of the screen and the coverage information in the right-hand side of the screen for all 126 countries in which UNICEF has programs. Vietnam is currently on screen. The database gives the date when the information was provided by the country office, in this case July 27th. It provides all the basic budget information, but it has no information on emergency funding, only on regular program funding. So the total WASH budget over the program period, how much of that is regular resources, how much of that is other resources, both funded and unfunded, and if all information is available, it calculates the percentage of the total budget that's unfunded, 32% in the case of Vietnam. And I should say that this is preliminary information from Vietnam. Next, there's data fields for the program period, whether or not it's classified by UNICEF as one of the 60 priority countries for water, sanitation, and hygiene programming, the region, and a breakdown of the annual funding gaps by year starting in 2009. Note that dashes indicate the information is either not available or not applicable. Further down, there's a section on WASH thematic interests, where country offices have indicated an estimated level of funding they could absorb if there was, say, a multi-country funding initiative along certain themes. And these themes are community approaches to total sanitation, hand washing with soap, household water treatment and safe storage, WASH in schools, WASH environment and climate change, guinea worm, and finally emergency preparedness. There's places, two boxes where a country office can provide information on any current unfunded proposals they have, and which are their existing donors for WASH and other possible donors that have shown interest in the past or currently. And a final place where additional notes can be entered. On the right-hand side of the screen, the standard ladder graphs for sanitation and water coverage are used. Using current WHO UNICEF Joint Monitoring Program data, the data year is 2006. It gives also an indication of whether the country is higher or lower in coverage than the average of countries in the UNICEF region, and compared also to the developing world. It also gives the MDG target for sanitation and for water, and provides all this information in tabular format as well. Okay, that's it for the country sheet. Just one thing. To choose a different country, you simply click on this arrow and select from the list another country. So we can select, say, Ethiopia, and of course a different set of graphs come up and different funding information. Go back to the table of contents. We go to the regional sheet, and I'll spend very little time on this because it's virtually identical to the country sheet. The data, both the funding data, the funding data is indicative of the UNICEF WASH regional program. And the coverage data is an average of the countries in the UNICEF region, not the WHO region that's given in the JMP. So that's all that's all that's necessary to look at in this sheet. The next sheet, after I've gone back to the table of contents, is this summary information sheet. It gives a summary of all the main funding data by region and total in part 1 for countries only. The first table, all countries, and the second table, priority countries only. Part 2 gives the same information, but the funding information provided by the WASH, the regional offices for their WASH programs. And then the final table is a grand total of the two. Country office program sizes and funding requirements plus regional office for WASH totaled in this final table. Going back to the table of contents, we can go to the first of the 3 queries. This first one is on funding. This works by first pressing the reset button and then choosing any value in this table. For example, we can choose to look at all of the countries with unfunded ORR of a level of $15 million or above. Choose the run query, and we get a list of countries that satisfy that criteria. We can then press the reset, and we can narrow that down. Say, let's look at just EAPRO, where, or let's say ISARO, where unfunded is over 5 million. Press the run query button, and we'll get a list of those countries. So you can mix and match and choose anything you want. You only need to remember to press the reset button before you change the parameters in this table. This is just a standard Excel spreadsheet, so if you like, you can always highlight some of this. Let's say this information here. Copy it. I'm using Control-C to copy, and then paste it into a Word document. It's just for fun. We can say, write a little letter, dear donor, please see our funding status below. Paste that in. I'm using Control-V to paste, and there it is. And then you can, now becomes a Word table, and you can manipulate it any way you want. Okay, back to the funding database and back to the table of contents. I'll quickly show you the other 2 queries. This query number 2 is about donor interest. You press the reset button, choose a donor. Let's say United Kingdom DFID here. Press query, and this shows all the countries that have listed United Kingdom DFID either as an existing donor or as a potential donor. Going back to the contents page, we look at query 3. Query 3 is concerned with the estimates by country office of their funding requirements for different thematic areas. Again, press the reset button and choose any one of these. Let's say hand washing with soap. Why don't we choose any country that's shown interest in this? Press query, and the countries that have shown interest and provided some value for hand washing with soap appear here. Back to the table of contents. The final sheet is simply a list of all the data. The reset, it produces a new table, and then you can print like you would normally print from Excel. That's it. Back to the table of contents. In a nutshell, that's the WASH funding database.